Okay, so now that we've learned about the different sections, let's take a look at what test day will look like. So first, let's just look at the order of which those sections will appear on the MCAT. So the first section is your chemical and physical foundations of biological systems, and then we have CARS, and then we have the biological and biochemical foundations, and then we end off with psychological, social, and biological foundations of behavior. So you're going to have all 4 sections, and it's all going to happen in one day. So if we go back to the beginning of the day, the first thing to note is that you'll want to arrive at your test center at least 30 minutes before your test. So 30 minutes is perfect. That's what they'll tell you to arrive by. So what will happen is they'll give you a personal locker so you can store your lunch and any other items in there. And then they'll call your name when it's time for you to write the test. So this sometimes does take a while. You could be sitting there waiting for up to 30 minutes. So definitely make sure you had a great breakfast before going to write your MCAT. Before you go into the test room to actually write your test, they'll ask you for your ID and you'll show it to them, and they'll also take your fingerprint. And that's just to make sure that it is you who's writing your test. Okay, then they'll tell you exactly where to sit for your MCAT, and you're going to be taken to a computer station where you'll have your own computer to work on the test. The next part is the tutorial, and that's just the standard tutorial that if you use any AAMC practice test, it's the same tutorial as that one. So by the end of this course, you will have had that experience to go through those tutorials. And so a lot of students on test day, they just choose to skip that since they're already very familiar with how the test works and the different functions like highlighting and things like that. Okay, now is for the actual test part. So again, you're going to start with chemical and physical foundations. And so this part of the test has 59 questions. So no matter what day you write, no matter where you're writing, it's always going to have 59 questions. Now the passages are going to be different. So if you write in one location today and I write in another location tomorrow, or even the same location the next day, the MCAT is not going to be the same, right? So they're going to take a different 10 passages, and each of those passages are going to be made up of 4 to 6 questions each. And then on top of that, there's going to be 15 standalone questions. So those are questions where they're not associated with a passage, and you can use your existing knowledge, not a passage, to answer those questions. So students usually find those ones a little bit easier. Okay, so in total for this section, there are 59 questions, and you're given 95 minutes to complete that section. Then you're given an optional break. I'm not sure why it's optional, but I definitely recommend that you take that break. Just take some time to not think about the MCAT, kind of completely wipe your mind and not think about what just went on. Get a snack, go to the washroom, things like that, and just try to relax. I know 10 minutes isn't even very long. Okay, the next section is CARS. So you're going to be wanting to use your energy now, focus on CARS. There's going to be 9 passages for this section. Each of them are going to have 5 to 7 questions for a total of 53 questions in the CARS section. You'll be given 90 minutes to complete this section. And then after this section, you'll have a mid-exam break, which again is optional. But again, I highly recommend that you take this break and use it as a lunch time or, a break time to eat your food. So you definitely want to pack a very healthy lunch and make sure you pack enough food to keep you full, and even drinks. But again, you don't want to drink too much because you don't want to have to go to the washroom right in between the test. Okay, so again, I definitely recommend taking that break. And then the next section is biological and biochemical foundations of living systems. So this one is very similar to the other science sections where you have 10 passages, 4 to 6 questions each in a passage. And then on top of that, you have 15 standalone questions for a total of 59 questions. And you're also going to be given 95 minutes for that. And then the psychological, social, and biological foundations of behavior is another very similar story where you have a total of 59 questions. So 10 passages, again made up of 4 to 6 questions each, with an additional 15 standalone questions, and you're given 95 minutes to complete that. So between each section, there is a break, and then at the halfway point of the test, that's where you get your longest break of 30 minutes. At the end of the test, so once you're done that, you can't just get up and leave, make sure you don't do that. It's going to ask you, do you want this test to be scored, or would you like this test to be voided? So what does that mean? If you want this test to be scored, that means, yes, please score my test, so then you can apply to medical schools. Now they do put this option in there for you to be able to void your test in case something crazy goes on that day and you're just not feeling like you tested your best, or yeah, that's the only kind of situation I would recommend using the void question option. I really would generally really try to make sure you guys stay away from that option. If you have taken the time to prepare and study like you will in this course, I promise you will help you every step of the way. You will not need to void your scores, and I highly recommend against that if you don't need to. So a lot of students, they might think, oh, I didn't do so well. But even in those cases, I would suggest you still get a score for your MCAT as long as you're confident that you did take the necessary time to study for the MCAT. And we'll talk more about how long you should study for the MCAT in another part of this course. Okay, so you will be given some time to decide if you want to score your test or not, and then after that, they give you a little satisfaction survey that asks different questions, and then that's it. After that, you'll be able to leave, and I'm sure you'll be very, very happy and excited that you accomplished the MCAT test. You took on that beast and you wrote it, and you'll feel so good once it's done. So the approximate content time, the actual time that you're actually selecting options, reading passages, kind of that high tension time, is 6 hours, 15 minutes. But the total test time is 7 hours, 30 minutes, because including all those breaks and kind of that introduction time and that end time. So let me know if you guys have any questions about the test schedule at all.